voice of growth, mastering the mind and market.
And I went down there and changed my major the very next day after being in that TV studio for an hour shooting a commercial. So those first 6 years of my career, small market TV where you do everything. I was producing, I was shooting video, I was writing, I was editing. That's to me the biggest concern. I mean, finding the ultimate truth. And now with AI coming into play, I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. We cannot lose that human element of compassion, that I do care about what I'm talking about, and it's heartfelt. Without integrity and trust, I don't have a job. And so I made a post specifically to address your question. This is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
The old way of doing journalism is still very important. And that really rocked me to my core too. I wish people would kind of embrace the differences and learn from them instead of focus on them. Because when you really break it down, all we want to be is happy and successful and have a loving family and friendships. Yeah, see, I get excited talking about it.
When you look at your history, your foundation, your background, what was it that made you say, this is where I'm going to be? This is where I'm supposed to be?
It actually happened in college. I was working at a scuba shop. I went to Mesa State College in Grand Junction, and was in the shop one day, and my boss walks in and he goes, "We're going to shoot a commercial. Do you want to be in it?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I get to be on TV." And at the time I was majoring in, what was it? I changed my major 6 times in college. So at the time I believe I was business management. And so we go down to the TV station, and it was KJCT in Grand Junction. And I walked in and got to see the news set, got to stand in front of the green screen, started talking to the photographer who I recognized from college. Smaller college. He starts telling me all about broadcast journalism. That's what he was majoring in. And I went down there and changed my major the very next day after being in that TV studio for an hour shooting a commercial. And I just felt it. Walking through the newsroom, getting to meet the news anchors, the news reporters. And even before that, looking back, like when I was a kid, my dad had a video camera. I mean, we're talking the early 80s, and I was playing Little League, and my dad, it was a big camera, like, up here with the cord going down to the box, holding the VHS tape. And I remember just kind of pushing my brother out of the way when we were making videos at home. I wanted to hold the microphone.
Nice.
So even before college, when I think back on my kids, my younger age growing up, I remember just really liking to be on camera. So, and then it solidified, and I changed my major, and it was full bore ahead. I love learning. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I remember my dad telling me, "You sure ask a lot of questions, but don't ever stop." And I still continue to ask questions.
Yeah, I know. And, I followed you for a number of years, and I think that you're obviously very smart, you're very driven, but you're also very curious.
Yeah.
And that curiosity comes out in your professionalism too. I mean, you're asking the right questions. This is why this is so interesting, because you're now on the other side.
I know. This is weird.
Right?
Why not asking the questions?
Yeah, exactly. I'm asking the questions, and this is just an interesting format because
I like it.
on the other side of that table, we've had CEOs of, for instance, the former CEO of Macy's was in the podcast.
Yeah.
We have all these folks, but I've never had somebody in the media world like you. What changes have you seen from where you started to now? Anything that has really changed?
Massive. I mean, when I first started, we were still on typewriters. I started my internship at KREX TV in Grand Junction. And this goes back to 93. And so we had typewriters and 5-copy page, where it had the carbon paper in the middle.
Yeah.
So you had to sit there and type up your scripts on a typewriter, rip them apart, give one to the director, give one to the teleprompter, which was a conveyor belt with a camera on it. All of this has changed rapidly. And so when I graduated college in 96, I went to Mankato, Minnesota, and we had computers, and we had a web page, and I remember being excited because my bio was on the web page,
Wow.
and I remember printing it out and mailing it to my family, like, "Look, I've got a bio on the web." And so that's right off the bat, but now with artificial intelligence and social media,
Mhm.
I remember, Twitter. When Twitter first came out, I thought, What's the big deal?" But then I remember finding out that Michael Jackson died through
Mhm.
Twitter,
Yeah.
and that was when I clicked. Like, wow, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And now with AI coming into play, I don't know where we're gonna be in 5 years. I mean, it's already
Mhm.
difficult at times to find the original source of information,
Right.
unless I'm the one doing the interview with the person, the source
Mhm.
themselves. That's to me the biggest concern. I mean, finding the ultimate truth. And I think it's gonna get more and more difficult as videos come out with AI technology,
Mhm.
voices. How do I know I mean, to me, unless you're doing it one-on-one like you and I right now,
Yeah.
old school, how are you gonna know where the source is?
Exactly. I have a friend who does voiceovers as
Mhm.
kinda like a side gig,
Yep.
and he was explaining to me he's actually gonna help me with doing a new voiceover for our, intro. And what he did is he loaded up he read this paragraph into this program, and from that, the program is you now. You can
Mhm.
just give it any text you want.
Yeah.
It'll read it just like it's you. And he actually he recorded himself on one thing and had this tool recorded on another thing, showed it to his wife,
Yeah.
and his
She
wife
couldn't tell.
couldn't tell.
See, that's scary. Because if the wife can't tell, the spouse can't tell, how's a reporter gonna tell? And, we do phone interviews every once in a while, and a lot of Zoom now. I mean,
Yeah,
since COVID,
exactly.
that changed the way we did news because we would always go out on, meet somebody at their house, meet somebody at their office to do the one-on-one interview.
Mhm.
But now Zoom and Teams and all these different
Yeah.
ways to do video, and yeah, it makes life easier because you don't have to drive, you don't have to do all this, but I guess I've still got some of the old school in me because I want to be out. I love to meet
Mhm.
people. I love to talk to them. I'm sure you do too. That's why I do this podcast. And just kind of the old school, just sitting down and
Yeah.
talking. Because to me, that's when you can learn so much. Just talk and
Yeah.
learn from each other.
I did a podcast that, released, last week about the, um, the advantages that you need to have in the world of AI,
Mhm.
and it's all about leaning into your humanness
Yeah.
because there's things that AI is going to just crush the world in,
Yep.
and there's things it will never be able to touch.
You can't replicate a human
You can't replicate a
to
human.
110%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you've been in the news industry, you've been in media. What would you say is, what separates those that survive and thrive with those that just don't cut it?
Yeah, over the years, I've had a lot of friends get out of the business. It can be brutal in the beginning. I mean, you don't get paid hardly anything in the very beginning. It takes a long time to build up to survive. I ate a lot of hot dogs and top ramen in the first several years of
Yeah.
my career, and you move around a lot because you have
Mhm.
to get the start. Well, when I was getting started, you had to get the start in the small markets. Like I
Mhm.
started in Grand Junction, Colorado, in a TV station that used to be a house, and they converted it into a TV station. Then I went to Mankato, Minnesota, and making 21 grand a year. And I thought I was high on the hog right out of college.
Yeah.
And then Yuma, Arizona from there. I was in Yuma for 2.5
Mm.
years. So those first 6 years of my career, small market TV where you do everything.
Mhm.
I was producing, I was shooting video, I was writing, I was editing, going out, one man band. We call it, now it's MMJ, multimedia journalist.
Yeah.
That's a one man band.
Yeah.
And so those first few years, unless you've really got it in your blood,
Mhm.
you're gonna get burned out. And I had it. I mean, I still shoot video. I mean,
Yeah.
if I hear breaking news and I'm close by, I'll go shoot video. I love being out in the center of it all. I love being at crime scenes and just I like to know that I'm there and that I can tell other people
Mhm.
about it. Um, and so, whether it's traffic impacts or just something of huge news, I want to be the one to tell you. And so I think what kept me in it all was just the love of it, the
Mhm.
passion. And, my dad and grandma and my mom all had really good work ethic.
Yeah.
And even before I got into TV, I was a wildland firefighter. That was hard work.
Mhm.
And so to me, if I'm not out with a big pack on my back full
Yeah.
of water or my gear. Sitting down typing. So
Yeah.
I always remind myself, hey, I'm not out digging a ditch.
Exactly.
I'm in an air conditioned newsroom most of the time, and I just can't complain. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel very blessed and fortunate to have my job.
So if you're speaking to thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people when you're
Yeah.
on the news and on these platforms,
Yeah.
how do you keep cool under pressure? Because I know that you've had to deliver some pretty messed up news
Yeah.
and things that have gotten you. I mean, how do you deal
Yes.
with that?
One of the things that people ask me, what's a difficult I remember this goes back, my son's 27, so this is 20 years ago. I was in the newsroom at the time. I was the weekend anchor and heard about a fatal rollover on I-10. So I jump in the news unit, grab a camera, and I go up there to shoot the video. And I get there, and it's a rollover. I can see stuffed animals in the road.
Oof.
And I thought, "Oh, man," but I knew it was a fatal, and so I'm thinking the driver died. And one of my buddies, was an Aver Valley firefighter at the time. I see him, I say, "Hey, can you give me some info?" He goes, "Yeah, a 7-year-old boy was killed." And at the time, my son was 7.
Oh God.
And I remember sitting there, and I see them load up his body on the stretcher, and his little arm fell out. And man, I actually lost it right there because
Yeah.
that was my son's age.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, this family's probably just driving down the interstate, singing songs, talking. A blowout tire leads to instant tragedy. So I always put myself in the family of the victims
Mhm.
because I think that's so important. We cannot lose that human element of compassion,
Passion.
of just, we're all neighbors. I mean, we all live in Tucson, and I like to think of us as the 2 degrees of separation, not the 6 degrees in
Mhm.
Tucson. And so I think that's something that I want everybody to realize, and I'm just not some robot. I don't care. I do care. I mean, I live here. I work here. My 2 youngest sons were born here. My oldest son was born in Yuma. I mean, my roots run deep. I've been here for 27 years now, and I just want people to know that I do care about what I'm talking
Yeah, of
about, and
course.
it's heartfelt.
Well, I know being at the apex of the community's media world, I'm sure you also get a lot of people that just try to bust your chops all the
Every
time.
day. Just go down my Facebook, uh, feed, and, it used to bother me. I mean, I would be like, "Why do people gotta be so mean?"
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning,
Mhm.
but now it's like water off a duck's back. I think, why is somebody what makes this person think it's okay to get on and just to not only attack me, they attack people leaving comments on my page. And, sometimes I think, well, misery loves company. And something's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And then you just got people who want to be a troll.
Yeah.
And why would I even care about
Right.
that? And like I said, in the beginning it did, but now I posted every once in a while as a reminder. I'm sitting in my backyard with my feet up on the on a table with a beverage in hand with
Yeah.
my hat over my head. It's like, this is my response to keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I really don't care. And it's kind of a nice way to it's nice when you can reach that point in your life.
Yeah.
There's so many more important things to worry about.
For
And
sure.
I'm not going to worry about some stranger's comment on my page.
Exactly.
And to be honest with you, it's kind of nice because I have a lot of people just come to my defense. I don't even have to say
Yeah.
anything anymore.
That's really good. How do you define integrity?
Well,
Because that's important in the news, right?
it
Not
is.
only in the news, but you're obviously a father. You've
Mhm.
got boys that you're raising to men and all that. I mean, integrity is such an important thing.
It is. And I kind of want to go back to my dad, my grandma. I mean, my grandma was like a second mom to me, small town Oklahoma.
Mhm.
Spent my first half of my childhood in San Diego. My dad was a native and then went to Oklahoma, where a man's handshake is better than his word. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you do it. And I was raised that way through my dad, through my grandma, my mom, my Uncle Wes. And I think a lot of the morals come from the Bible.
Yeah.
I was in D Malay all throughout high school, and I just believe that if you say you're going to do it, you have
Yeah.
to do it. And integrity, I think, comes from the heart. I mean, I don't want to disappoint people. Like
Mhm.
I believe in raising my sons to do the same thing. I mean, this morning on the way to school, we were having this conversation. If you, because my son didn't do one of his homework
Yeah.
assignments, and he told me he would.
Yeah.
I was like, buddy, you told me you would, and when you tell me something, you have to keep your word.
Yeah.
And without integrity and trust, I don't have a job.
Yeah.
I mean, if people
Exactly.
don't trust me, why are they going to listen to what I have to say? And it's something I'm very cognizant of. cognitive of. I want people to trust me, and I don't wanna do anything to harm that.
Yeah.
And so I think of it I mean, when I even if it comes down to a simple post on Facebook, I think I'm very aware of what I'm doing, and I'm aware of my surroundings if I go out and about. If I wanna go hang out with my buddies, I have to be aware of what I'm doing.
You see the full spectrum of society in your role.
Yeah.
You see the best in people, you see the worst in people. You see people that are struggling, people that are succeeding. You see it all, and you're in this unique position. How does that viewpoint shape your world? I mean, I'm sure it affects you. I'm sure it gives you pride, but how does it affect you day to day?
It always reminds me that I'm just very lucky to where I am right now. I mean, I have a job that I love. I'm living in a city that I love. And when my kids were younger, I still do this. I will go to other parts of town and park and walk through and just say, "Hey, look where we live and look where how other people live." And just be aware.
Mhm,
And my oldest son works at Gospel Rescue Mission, and so I volunteer there multiple times a year
mhm.
just to remember that not everybody has it so lucky in life.
Yeah,
And they've been delivered maybe some horrible, tragic events in their lives that have
yeah.
led them to this. I mean, homelessness. Um, and when you really start to, and I enjoy talking to anybody and everybody.
Mhm.
And I like to go downtown. And so over the years, I've talked to probably 300 different homeless folks where I've actually, not just on camera,
Yeah,
it's just walking around
yeah.
downtown and then working at volunteering at the Gospel Rescue Mission. It really makes me realize that if we all just kind of pitch in,
Mhm.
we could make a big difference.
Yeah,
And it's not always giving money. If you can't afford it, you can give your time.
yeah.
And volunteering, I think, is one of the best things we can do to give back. It makes you realize how much we have it and how much you can really help. And it's just time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Tell us about Dan's Car Wash.
Oh, that was awesome. That came about over a year and a half ago, and, the girls and our, big brothers and big sisters of Southern Arizona approached me, and they brought it up, and I thought, "Absolutely, I'd love to help out." And our sister station, KPHO up in Phoenix, does the same thing.
Mhm.
And so, I started looking at how they do it, and then, a good year goes by and didn't really hear much, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's back. I'm like, "Absolutely, let's do it." And had no idea what to expect. As I'm driving there that morning, I'm thinking, "What if nobody shows up?"
Yeah.
I mean, we hit it hard with promos and,
Mhm.
marketing, and, over was it almost 260 cars showed up.
Wow.
There was never not a car in line, except towards the very end, the last 15 minutes, and it was incredible. It was so heartwarming.
Mhm.
People drove from all the way up from Catalina up north, from Corona de Tucson on the southeast side, just to come say hi and to help. And I said hi to anybody and everybody I could in that line. I really made it a point to say hi and thank you for coming. So we ended up raising, I think, over almost 32,000. But even more so than that was the awareness on how bigs are needed.
Yeah.
I think there were at the time, hopefully we made a little bit of an indent. I know at the time we had a few people sign up and a lot of people took the information. But over the years, I've had several good friends. Justin Bentley, he's been a big for 15 years. I've been associated with it. And as a kid growing up in San Diego, I remember going to Big Brothers.
Yeah.
And just, I didn't ever have a big, I was never little, but I would go there because some of my buddies did. And I think it's a wonderful
Mhm.
organization. And it kind of goes back to having that talk about having a direct impact on somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, you can mentor them, show them what's good, and try to show them the right way.
Yeah, I love mentoring. I do some, events, up in Phoenix and here in Tucson with universities, and you make these, I mean, we've all had scars and successes and anything you can share. This is why I do this podcast,
Mhm.
is to give back, to give people a perspective. When you and I think we're about the same age. When you and I were growing up, you had books, you had TV, you had things, but now there's so much in social media.
Yeah,
It's just coming at you in 100 different directions. So I totally get where the volunteering and being able to share your time comes from.
yeah.
If you look at your career trajectory,
Mhm.
where do you see yourself in 20 years?
I've always kind of wanted to run for office. Let's
Yeah.
see, I'm 50. I just had a birthday. I'm 54 64. Wow. I have to think about it now. So, in 20 years, I'd be 54, 64. Wow. Hopefully I'll be retired. But, I've always kind of wanted to run for office, but that's also changed in the last 10 years. It's just gotten so brutal. I don't know if I want to even deal with that. I might just want to retire and just, hang out with my boys.
Yeah.
But in 20 years, I would like to be able to say that by that time I'll be retired. I feel like I got a good another 10, 15 years. But I also, my dad passed at 64. And that's only 10 years away from me for
Right.
now. And that, man, I don't want that to be me. He had cancer and that
Yeah.
kind of runs in the family.
Skin cancer, right?
Yes, it was. And he just didn't, my dad was stubborn. He was old baby boomer, old school. I remember when he was down here in 2010. I said, Dad, you need to go get this looked at. It was bad. Oh, I'm going to go down to Mexico, get some skin cream. It's like, no, you need to go to the
Mhm.
doctor. So I'm very proactive when it comes to that. I go every 6 months now to no more than a year. And if I got something, take it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, by that time, I'd like to be retired and just be a snowbird, actually. Escape the heat of Tucson.
Mhm.
My family's in Colorado. And just go hang out there in the hot months and then come back and enjoy all the cool things to do in Tucson and Southern Arizona.
What do you think is the biggest change you've seen in Tucson over your time here? How long you been here?
I've got here in '99.
Okay, so yeah,
So the explosive growth on the growth in Marana, because the TV station's at I-10 and Cortero. It's in Marana. So obviously a lot of my time is spent up there. I just live a few miles from work, kind of live and work on the northwest side. So the explosive growth of Marana has been a huge thing,
Mhm.
and in Tucson in general. But just well, even driving here, coming down was a Glen, just all the cone zones, all the
Oh,
construction.
yeah, man.
I feel like that gets worse as time goes on. But I also feel like the homelessness has gotten a little bit worse as
Mhm.
well. And even though the numbers don't always support it, maybe it's just because we hear about it so much more with social media. But I also feel, even though crime is officially down, depending on which numbers you look at,
Mhm.
I mean, man, we still just have a lot of murders in Tucson. And that's just unfortunate. So I think as the city has grown, you get kind of more of the bigger city
Mhm.
problems. But yeah, I think that overall cost of living too.
Cost of living,
I
yeah.
used to tell people Tucson is a hidden treasure. I remember even if you go back 15 years ago, some of the homes that you could buy in that 200 to 250 range.
Yeah.
And when I first got here in 99, the homes you could buy for that 250, 300 range were like little mini
Yeah.
mansions. And now you can't even hardly find a
Yeah,
home for
it's
that
crazy.
price. So yeah, the cost of living is it's sad to see how much it's gone up. I think of my son, who's 27, my oldest. He moved back in with me like 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And when I look at houses, as investment opportunities for him, and now it's like, man, just stay here.
Yeah, why not?
There's no reason for you to get in debt. I don't want him to be in debt like I have been in the past.
I filled up my truck yesterday
Oh,
and, $162,
wow.
a diesel,
Yeah,
and I
big
thought to
tank.
myself, "Man, it's crazy. It's
It is.
getting out of hand."
It is.
And, tell me about, there's a particular band you like a lot, right?
Oh, I don't have my necklace on.
Roger Clyne and the
Roger
Peace
Klein
yeah.
and the
Tell
Peacemakers.
me about it. What's with the fascination?
My friends make fun of me, first of all, but it all happened back in about 2006. Heather Rowe is my co-anchor, and then no, Chris Pickle was still here at the time.
Mhm.
Chris Pickle's been gone for a long time. It was Chris Pickle before Heather and her husband, Carl. They were huge Roger Clyne fans. So they were playing, it was a place, I can't ever remember the name of it, but it was off of Tankerverde and Grant, where they had a lot of concerts at the time.
Mhm.
So everybody after work, and it was just, yeah, after work, we all went down there to go see a Roger Clyne concert. And I'd heard their one song, because back when Gin Blossoms were kind of making it big in the
Mhm.
late 90s in the Tempe music
Yeah.
scene, it was really Refreshments. Roger Clyne was the Refreshments back then. Everybody knows the world is full of stupid people. So that was his big song. And so I'd heard that song,
Mhm.
and I get down there and everybody's singing to every word. And I'm just thinking, man, these people are kind of weird. How do they know all the words? Or these mega fans? But the atmosphere, the energy, like this oneness type feeling, and
Mhm.
how people with different bands, you know what I'm talking about. When you
Yeah,
get
I
into
do.
a good scene and the people are having fun and everybody's singing the words, I was hooked from that very first concert. And so every time I have a chance, They're gonna be here in September. I get to introduce them on stage. They're gonna be at La
Wow.
Rosa. Uh, so over the years, I've just gotten a little bit closer. Roger started recognizing me from the concerts, being up front, being the weird guy dancing and singing. And then I helped him out. He had a tequila. We did a cantina crawl, got him on the bus, and we went all around Tucson to all the different bars with about 50 people on the
Yeah.
bus. And that's when I really kind of went from kind of being a fan to a little bit of a buddy. And so, yeah, I mean, every chance I get to see him, I go see him. It's just the music is phenomenal. When you listen to the words, there's a lot of, every time I give away a dollar or two, I get 3 more on the way. It's
Yeah.
giving to
Positive
receive.
message and
Very positive. And you got the Mexican horns, and he's from Tucson. He was born,
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
he
Okay.
was born in Tucson. His dad, Doc, has a ranch down in Sonoita, and then he lives up in Tempe. And so he goes back and forth a lot. So he had the Tempe life
Mhm.
and the ranch life, and he's fluent in Spanish. Loves the Mexican culture. We go down to Rocky Point every
Yeah.
year for Circus Mexicus. That's in June. This year, it's going to be late May, early June. So I'll be down there for that too.
Nice.
Yeah, see, I get excited talking
Yeah,
about
you
him.
your eyes just opened up on that.
Roger?
Wow. What would you say if, you have all this new cohort of people on social media, this new platform of
Mm,
of these podcasts, you're starting to get some more lives. I have friends that do lives up in Phoenix and she's a big social media person. And so you have all these things happening. Do you see the kind of full circle to the one of the first questions? Where do you see the traditional media going with all these other things happening in social media, things like the AI? I mean, all these things are happening already. Where do you
yeah.
see the actual? Where do you see KLD or others like that in the next few years? Is it going to be a resurgence because there's more in real life things happening, or is it going to just change massively?
Well, I think we reestablished the importance of my kind of media during Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. In the very beginning, there was so much misinformation going around. It boggled my mind. I couldn't believe people would call themselves a podcaster or YouTuber and then spread this just based on a rumor.
Yeah.
And the biggest one on that was the Culver's incident about a week or two after the initial disappearance. It was the second time they made some detainments. They raided that home just within a couple of miles of Nancy's home, and then they surrounded that Land Cruiser at the
Hmm.
Culvers from the home. Well, people were saying that somebody committed suicide. And the reason this started was because somebody took a picture of an FBI agent holding up a, a cover around this car. His reflection from the lighting was on the back windshield. Somebody's saying that that was a dead body in the back of the car. And this spread like wildfire. I was getting messages at work saying, "How come you're not covering the suicide?" We don't have that confirmed. The
Yeah.
sheriff's department is not telling us that. The FBI is not telling us that. Where are you getting to? Well, it's on X, it's on Facebook. And so I made a post specifically to address your question. This is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that there's been a suicide. That wasn't true. That post got it reached 1 million people. So there's still that viewers want the truth,
Hmm.
but then they're so quick to spread misinformation with a share, a retweet.
Hmm.
And so the old way of doing journalism is still very important. You can't just go on the air with somebody, well, somebody told me this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what if they're lying?
Right.
And so I think that's where we're always going to have um, our standing and how we cover news. But because the podcasters and the YouTubers, well, I mean, you care, but there's others out there.
Right.
It's all about the click. It's all
They
about
want clickbait.
yes. And I can't stand clickbait. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not good for anybody. But you see, and obviously we're not going to get into politics, but you see the division
Oh, yeah.
getting further and further away. I mean,
Yeah.
being the same age, I remember growing up as a kid. Politically speaking, you would have the other side as
Mhm.
your neighbor, and you would just hang out, and there'd be no issues.
Yes.
Now you see literally people that are neighbors, like
Wives and husbands.
moving away or divorces or whatever
Yes.
because of some politics.
I don't understand it. I really don't. Because I'm always under the impression, do you really, really, really think that politician in DC even knows who you are, first of all?
Yeah.
And do they really, really care? I mean, you're going to lose relationships and friendships
Hmm.
over politics? I don't understand that.
No.
It just boggles my mind.
In your time in the news, was there any time where you wanted to quit?
Mm, yeah, but I guess burnout kind of came into play a few years back. You know, just my hours can be long and just time away from my boys. And there was some just, went through some personal issues, went through divorce, and just that really kind
Mhm.
of hurt. And I thought, man, is it because of the amount of time I spend at work? Is it my hours? Because I work late. I don't get home till 10:30. So there's things that I miss after school activities because I'm at work doing the 4 and the 6
Yeah.
o'clock newscast. But, I actually went to my managers and I said, "Look, here's what's happening." And they said, "If you need to take off a couple of hours here and there to go to your Boy Scout meeting with your boys, just let us know.
Mhm.
You can do it." And that was a huge help. I mean, to me, a strong manager is all the difference it makes at
Yeah.
work. And when you have managers who realize the importance of family life, that was a huge help. So it got me right back to where this is why I love my job.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that was several years ago, but that's all gone. I mean, knowing that all I need to do is say, "Hey, I need a couple hours off on Thursday. I've got a band performance for my middle son,"
Yeah.
and yeah, go. So that has made a huge impact
That's
and
great.
brought it all back.
What keeps you up at night, Dan?
The future for my boys. I mean, just
How old are your
seeing
boys?
I've got 3 boys, 27, 11, and almost 7. And so and this is I remember this. I remember as a kid back in the '70s when we were having the gas crisis
Mhm.
and you could only go depending on your license plate. If you had an odd number, even number, you can go get gas. I remember when all that was happening, and back then I was watching the news. And, I remember laying in bed crying, and I remember this call also because my dad remembers it, and it had such an impact on my dad, and I was crying, my dad heard me, he comes in, he goes, "What's wrong?" And I must have seen something on the news that day,
Mhm.
and I didn't know how I was gonna afford to live because they were talking about the inflation back in the '70s, and my dad said, "That's not for you to worry about, I'll worry about it, you're okay, I'll pay for everything." But that my dad told me later in life that that was a huge impact for him because he realized, "Hey, my kids are depending on me. I need to step up." And my dad was always a hard worker, but it was just kind of reinforcement for
Mhm.
him. And so, yeah, if anything keeps me up, it's just the future of my boys. What's life going to be like? Everything's changing so rapidly. I don't want them to lose. I don't want them to get so consumed with all the digital stuff. I mean, when we have sleepovers, they're screen free. Like when my son's friends are coming
Yeah.
over, I tell the parents, "Hey, this is a screen-free party. I've got a bunch of games set up in the backyard," and most of them love it. A
Yeah.
couple of them like, "Whoa, really? What are they gonna do?" I was
Mhm.
like, "They're gonna play. They're gonna interact," and, that's the biggest thing, the future of my boys. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same thing, same way. Mine are a little bit older. Mine kinda in the middle because I have a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And they're embarking, one's at the U of A, one's in high school. They're embarking in the new world for them.
Mhm.
And there's so many things that are different than when you and I grew up.
Yeah.
But, the only thing constant is change, and you have
Mhm.
to adapt,
Yes.
right? Were you when you see the community, um, coming up and supporting an effort, whether it's like the Nancy Guthrie thing or whatever, do you think that your voice carries a lot of weight when you give, something to the community?
Yes, and it really came through with the Dan's Car Wash because you could only hear about that on KOLD. It was only on our air promoting it through our digital media, and to have that many people show up just because they saw it and they knew that I was gonna be there, it was very humbling, and it made me feel really, really good, and
Mhm,
it also made me realize the importance of being responsible, being a good steward of our
mhm,
city, doing good for the city, and it was incredibly rewarding knowing
mhm,
that these people and here's a great example of that day. There was a guy in a wheelchair who lived in the neighborhood who rode over to give $5. It's all he had. But he said, "I saw you asking for help and I wanted to come help. $5." And he goes, "I'm sorry it's not more." It's like, man, just imagine if everybody gave $5. That's plenty. And It's just I don't know, I didn't know it was gonna be that way. I
Yeah.
really didn't. I thought people, we'll get our car washed." But to stand there with everybody their window down,
Mhm.
and I was approaching all the cars to say, "Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking time out of your
Mhm.
day to come down here." And all the people, "Oh, can we take a picture?" And it was incredibly heartwarming, and it makes me wanna actually do more,
Yeah.
just to know that together we can make a difference.
I remember as a kid, there's still the people that I remember as the news anchors, Guy Atchley,
Oh,
Stephanie
yeah.
White, Bud Foster.
Yep.
Like, these are all
Love these guys.
brand names that I
Yes.
had growing up.
Yeah.
Are there any brand name, news anchors that you look up to that you're like, "This guy
Dan Rather.
is" Dan Rather?
That's who I watched all throughout school, when, when I was a younger kid. So I first half of my childhood was San Diego. Paul Bloom was, channel 739 in San Diego, and when I found out I think he was a pilot, my dad was a helicopter pilot, so I really looked up to Paul Bloom, and I actually emailed him maybe 20 years ago just saying, "Hey, I'm a news anchor now, and I remember watching you as a kid in San Diego." And he wrote me back.
Wow.
And as an adult, I got excited. I was like, "Wow, Paul Bloom wrote," and I called my mom and dad at the time. My dad was still alive. I was like, "Remember Paul Bloom from San Diego?" And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "He wrote me back." And a similar situation happened with John Hook. When I first moved to Arizona City to get this job in '99, I watched John Hook. And so I wrote him a message and got to meet him in real life. And he remembered the message I wrote him. And I thought that was neat. But now I have people who are coming up to me now.
Mhm.
And when Guy actually announced his retirement, I actually called him in the K-Gun newsroom.
Really?
I said, "Hey, Guy, I'd met him a few times over the years. He's a fellow Okie." And because I moved to Oklahoma after San Diego. And I said, "Hey, Guy, congratulations. You've made such an impact in Tucson. People are going to really miss you." I said, "You know what this means now?" And he goes, "What's that?" I go, "I'm going to be the old guy now." So, and Bud Foster, I love working with him. He's pretty much retired now,
Yeah.
but he did come back to the station when Raul Grijalva passed away.
Mhm.
And to give you an idea of what Bud is like, when he walked in the newsroom, he had people lined up waiting to say hi. And these are coworkers. And I hadn't seen him for a few months, and things really changed during COVID. He was
Mhm.
working a lot from home, so I didn't get to see him a lot. But when Bud walks into the room, man, you want to say hi and you want to listen. That he's covered so much politics over
Mhm.
the years, and he remembers so many things. And he's just a walking encyclopedia when it comes to local issues. So yeah, pretty neat. It's
Nice.
nice to work with those guys.
Yeah. Well, as we round out the podcast here, I have only a few more
Yeah.
questions. One of those is, what drives you? What is your inner light? What gives you you've got tremendous energy, you have a thirst for life. We talked about your curiosity. You're a father, you're a member of the community. Like, what is your do you have one thing that's your core?
Wow, that's a great question. What drives me? What makes me excited? My first answer is just life. I mean, I wake up happy I'm still alive. Over the years, I've lost some really close people, and it just reminds me that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. I
Mhm.
mean, we lost a coworker. It's been a year and a half ago, Anna Orsini. She was
Yeah.
a morning anchor, and she had a brain aneurysm, and she was very full of life.
Yeah.
And to get that phone call, that was that was horrible. And she was only 28. And we were really close. I mean, she was so much fun to be around, and that really rocked me to my core too. And so those days where I don't feel like doing a whole lot,
Mhm.
I just got to remind myself, man, you can't feel this way. Just to be 6 feet above the ground is a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
I'm a believer, and so I try to live right for that.
Yeah.
I want to have, eternal paradise in heaven, and
Yeah.
I want to see my family and
Yeah.
friends again. And so that would probably be my driving force. Just really don't take anything for granted. Don't
Mhm.
sweat the small stuff. Even when I was driving over here, it's like a 40-minute drive. And I thought, oh, but then I thought, I get to be in a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm not over here every day. And I love where you are. And I like seeing different
Yeah.
parts. And so after here, I'm probably going to go park my truck and go walk around just to see the different parts of Tucson. I love Tucson that way. One thing about Tucson, it's so compartmentalized.
Mhm.
I mean, you got downtown, you got the south side, you got the northwest side, you got the foothills, the west side, and it's just they're little pockets of
Yeah.
Tucson. But overall, we're still Tucson, man. We're the old Pueblo, and I wish people would kind of embrace the differences and learn from them instead of focus on them. Because when you really break it down, all we want to be is happy and successful and have a loving family and friendships. And I think if people would just remember that instead of getting focused on our differences, we'd be a lot happier.
Yeah, I think you and I share a lot of the same philosophy. I'm exactly the same way. We
Yeah.
actually go to restaurants and random places like, hey, let's go to Saguaro Corners,
Hmm.
some random place, right? Or let's go to the Barnyard, or let's go to the Northwest Side to the Old Father Inn, or something random because we're not usually there.
Yeah.
And as far as the your coworker who passed
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, obviously, sorry for that for your
Thanks.
loss because I know that it can be sudden.
Hmm.
And part of this podcast is about stoicism, memento mori, which means remember you will die.
Mm.
And it's not meant to be morbid. It's
Yeah.
meant to be enlightening and give gratitude. Every
Yes.
morning when I wake up, I spend the first minute giving gratitude. I'm alive. I have all this to look forward to, and I get excited just at life. I
Yeah.
kind of like feed my own fire by doing so.
And I think it's important to do that in the morning too, because, I'll be honest, after Anna passed, I got kind of in a dark spot where why? It just didn't seem fair. And so I was just not I'd get up, take the boys to school, go back home and just get back in bed. And that lasted for several weeks. And it was a buddy of mine's like, "Man, just get out of the house. Go out in your back." I mean, like where you are now, just go out and listen to the birds and just be thankful for being
Yeah.
alive. And so, yeah, I do the same thing. Yesterday, I went out to El Rio Preserve just to walk around the water. I think being outside is something I really, really enjoy because, we're being cooped up in home, being cooped up in the newsroom.
Hmm.
I think it's very important. And I remember my dad saying this, we always were having fun as long as we were outside.
Hmm.
And now, and I have to be aware. I mean, I can get stuck on my phone for
Hmm.
hours at a time.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're down the algorithm on YouTube watching all these videos, and I've been on the phone for an hour and a half. And what did I do? I was glued to this little tiny screen, and I didn't get anything accomplished. And so I have to remind myself, and in order for me to break that, I put my phone in my bathroom now, so I don't have it right next to my head and get on the phone and just fall asleep to it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's intentional things we can do to help us get away from that.
Yeah. Well, Dan, this has been very informative. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
It's been
Yeah, I
nice,
agree.
nice getting to know you.
Yeah, you
And
too.
certainly be keeping my eye out for your news and
Thanks.
to see where your career goes from here. So
I
appreciate
appreciate
your
it.
time.
Thanks. Yeah.
Cheers.
This was fun.